I stood frozen at my own engagement party, champagne glass trembling in my hand, as my sister Marlo raised her glass to make a toast. Everyone's eyes were on her. Beautiful, radiant Marlo in her emerald dress. But I saw something in her smile that made my blood run cold. To my darling sister Celine and her wonderful fiancé Bennett, she began, her voice honey-sweet. May your love last forever. She turned to Bennett, and their eyes locked for just a second too long. That's when I saw it. A flash of something intimate, something that didn't belong there. My chest tightened. I watched as Marlo's hand brushed Bennett's arm when she walked past him. It was deliberate, possessive. And Bennett, he didn't pull away. Instead, his jaw tightened, and he looked down at his shoes like a guilty child. The room erupted in applause and cheers, but I couldn't move. My mother squeezed my shoulder, whispering, "Smile, darling." But I couldn't. Because in that moment, standing in a room full of people celebrating my future, I realized something terrible. My sister and my fiancé were hiding something from me. That night, I couldn't sleep. Bennett snored softly beside me, but I lay awake, replaying Marlo's toast over and over. At 2 a.m., his phone buzzed on the nightstand. I shouldn't have looked, but I did. The screen lit up with a message from M. My heart pounded as I read, "Tonight was torture. I can't keep pretending." My hands shook as I unlocked his phone. I knew his passcode, 0-8-1-5, my birthday. The messages between Bennett and Marlo went back 6 months. 6 months of, "I miss you," and "When can I see you?" And "She doesn't need to know." I scrolled through photos, Bennett and Marlo at a cafe I'd never been to. Their hands intertwined, his lips on her forehead. The dates matched days he'd told me he was working late or visiting his sick aunt in Portland. I wanted to scream. I wanted to shake him awake and demand answers, but something stopped me. A cold, calculated anger settled over me like armor. If they wanted to play games, I would play too. But I would play to win. I took screenshots of everything and sent them to myself. Then I deleted the evidence that I'd ever seen them. The next morning, I called the one person I knew would understand. My best friend since college, Josiah. He answered on the second ring, his voice groggy. "Celine, it's 7 in the morning. I need your help," I whispered, standing in my bathroom, with the shower running to mask my voice. "Bennett's cheating on me, with Marlo." The silence on the other end lasted 5 seconds. Then, "I'm coming over. Don't do anything until I get there." Josiah arrived an hour later with coffee and a determined look in his dark eyes. I showed him the screenshots, watching his expression shift from shock to disgust to something harder. "What do you want to do?" he asked carefully. "I want them to pay." My voice shook with barely controlled rage. "But I want to do it right. I don't want to just blow up at them. I want them to feel what they've done to me." Josiah nodded slowly. "Then we need a plan, and we need to be smart about it." He pulled out his laptop. "First, we gather more evidence. Then we wait for the perfect moment." I smiled for the first time in hours. It wasn't a happy smile. A week later, I sat across from our wedding planner, Vivienne, discussing floral arrangements. Bennett was at work, or so he said. I smiled and nodded, playing the excited bride perfectly. "I want to add something special," I told Vivienne. "I want to surprise Bennett with a video montage at the reception. Can you recommend someone who could help me compile photos and videos?" Vivienne's eyes lit up. "Oh, that's beautiful. I know just the person. My nephew Dante does incredible video work. Very discreet, very professional." Perfect. I met with Dante the next day, showing him innocent photos of Bennett and me, talking about our love story. Then I casually mentioned, "I might want to include some candid shots too. You know, just everyday moments. Would you be able to help me gather those? Dante, young and eager for the work, agreed immediately. I gave him a list of locations and times, all the places I knew Bennett claimed to be when he was actually with Marlowe. Over the next 2 weeks, Dante sent me dozens of photos and short videos. Bennett and Marlowe walking hand in hand through Pike Place Market, kissing in his car, entering her apartment building. Evidence, beautiful, undeniable evidence. Marlowe insisted on coming to my final dress fitting. Sisters should share these moments, she said, with that perfect smile. My mother agreed enthusiastically. I stood on the platform in my white gown, while the seamstress pinned the hem. Marlowe sat on the velvet couch, sipping champagne that the bridal shop provided. In the mirror, I watched her face. You look beautiful, she said, but her eyes were calculating, not warm. Thank you for being my maid of honor, I replied sweetly. It means everything to have you by my side on my special day. Something flickered across her face. Guilt? No, it was gone too quickly. Of course, I wouldn't miss it for anything. I was thinking, I continued, adjusting my veil. Maybe you and Bennett could give a joint toast at the reception. You two have always gotten along so well. Marlowe's champagne glass paused halfway to her lips. That would be lovely. My mother clapped her hands together. What a wonderful idea, Celine. You're so thoughtful. I smiled at Marlowe in the mirror. She smiled back. Two predators circling each other, both pretending to be lambs. I arranged for my mother to accidentally find Bennett's credit card statement. It was surprisingly easy. I left it on the kitchen counter when I knew she'd be visiting. Highlighted charges circled in red, jewelry stores, hotels, restaurants Bennett and I had never visited together. The phone call came 3 hours later. Celine, darling. I found something concerning. I played my part perfectly, acting shocked when she showed me. There must be some mistake, I whispered, my voice shaking with practiced emotion. Maybe his card was stolen? But my mother's face was stone. She was many things, but stupid wasn't one of them. We should talk to him together. No, I said quickly. Not yet. Please, Mom, let me figure this out first. She reluctantly agreed, but I saw the wheels turning in her mind. My mother came from old money, old pride. Betrayal was the one thing she couldn't forgive. I'd just planted a seed, and I knew she would water it with her own suspicions. That evening, Bennett came home whistling. He kissed my cheek. How was your day? Perfect, I lied. Absolutely perfect. Bennett's bachelor party was in 2 weeks. His best friend Royce was organizing it. A weekend in Las Vegas. I called Royce privately. I want to do something special for Bennett, I told him. Can I fly out and surprise him? Maybe show up at the hotel? Royce, sweet and unsuspecting, loved the idea. He gave me all the details. Hotel name, room numbers, itinerary. He even suggested I coordinate with him so he could set up the surprise perfectly. But I had different plans. I called Dante again. I need you to be in Las Vegas this weekend. Here's the hotel. Here's what I need you to film. Then I called Marlowe. Hey sis, Bennett's bachelor party is this weekend. I'm feeling anxious about the whole Vegas thing. Crazy idea. But want to fly out with me and crash it? It'll be fun. There was a pause. Then, actually, I was thinking of visiting a friend in Vegas that weekend anyway. What a coincidence. I smiled into the phone. Such a coincidence. Of course, Marlowe wasn't visiting a friend. According to the messages I'd been monitoring, she and Bennett had planned to meet there. A final rendezvous before the wedding. I booked my flight. This was going to be interesting. I didn't tell Royce I'd arrived. Instead, I waited in the hotel lobby with Josiah, who'd insisted on coming for moral support. At midnight, I saw them. Bennett and Marlowe entering through a side entrance, trying to be discreet. They went to the elevators. My chest hurt, but I stayed calm. Josiah squeezed my hand. You sure about this? I nodded. Dante was already in position with his camera. I'd paid him well to get footage without being seen. An hour later, I knocked on the hotel room door. Bennett answered in a hotel robe, his face going white when he saw me. Celine, what are you… I pushed past him. Marlo sat on the bed, wrapped in a sheet, her makeup smeared. For a moment, nobody moved. Then Marlo started crying. It's not what it looks like. I laughed. Actually laughed. Really? Because it looks like my sister is sleeping with my fiancé in a Vegas hotel room. Bennett reached for me. Let me explain. No, I said coldly. Don't. I just wanted to see it with my own eyes. I wanted to give you both a chance to come clean. They stared at me, confused by my calm demeanor. The wedding is still happening, I continued. See you both there. I walked out, leaving them speechless. The final week before the wedding was chaos. My mother kept pulling me aside, asking if I was sure about marrying Bennett. I assured her I was handling everything. Marlo called multiple times. I didn't answer. Bennett showed up at my apartment. I'd moved out 2 days after Vegas, but I refused to see him. I communicated only through text. The wedding is still on. Be there or don't. Your choice. He chose to be there. They both did. Because backing out now would mean admitting their guilt publicly, and neither of them was brave enough for that. Josiah helped me finalize everything. The video montage was ready. Vivian had arranged the reception exactly as I had specified. Dante had compiled his footage beautifully. The night before the wedding, I sat alone in my new apartment, looking at my dress hanging on the closet door. Part of me wondered if I was crazy. But then I remembered the text messages, the Vegas hotel room, the 6 months of lies. Tomorrow, everyone would know the truth. Tomorrow, justice would be served with champagne and witnesses. I slept better that night than I had in weeks. The church was packed, 300 guests watching as I walked down the aisle in my perfect white dress. Bennett stood at the altar, looking handsome but nervous. Marlo stood beside the altar in her maid of honor dress, sage green and elegant. I reached Bennett, and he whispered, "You look beautiful. Can we talk after?" "Sure," I whispered back, smiling. The ceremony proceeded normally. Vows were exchanged. Bennett's hands shook as he slid the ring onto my finger. When the officiant said, "You may kiss the bride," Bennett hesitated, searching my face for something. Then he leaned in. I let him kiss me. The crowd applauded. We turned to face them as husband and wife, and I saw my mother in the front row, her expression unreadable. We walked back down the aisle together, hand in hand. Bennett kept trying to catch my eye, but I looked straight ahead, smiling at our guests. The reception was held in a beautiful historic mansion overlooking Puget Sound. Everything was perfect. The flowers, the music, the food. People kept telling me it was the most beautiful wedding they'd ever seen. They had no idea what was coming. The reception hall glowed with candlelight and fairy lights. Our wedding party sat at the long head table, me in the center with Bennett, Marlo to my right, Royce and the other bridesmaids and groomsmen flanking us. Everyone was laughing, drinking, celebrating. I barely touched my food. My heart pounded. But my face remained serene. Josiah caught my eye from a nearby table and gave a slight nod. Everything was ready. Bennett kept trying to hold my hand under the table. "Celine, please. We really need to talk. I can explain everything." "Not now," I whispered, still smiling. "We have guests." Marlo leaned over. "Celine, I'm so sorry. Can we please… speech time," I announced suddenly, standing up and tapping my glass. The room quieted, all eyes turning to me. Vivian appeared at my side, right on cue. Actually, before the speeches, the bride has a special surprise, a video montage celebrating the happy couple's journey. The lights dimmed. A large screen descended behind the head table. Bennett's face went pale. Marlowe grabbed my arm. "Celine, what is this?" I pulled away gently. "Just watch." The video started innocently enough. Photos of Bennett and me from when we first met. Our first date, hiking trips, Christmas mornings. The guests awed appropriately. Then the music shifted. The photos changed. Bennett and Marlowe at a cafe, holding hands across the table. Date stamp. 6 months ago. The room went silent. Bennett and Marlowe kissing in his car. Date stamp. 4 months ago. Someone gasped. I heard my mother's sharp intake of breath. Bennett and Marlowe entering her apartment building together. Multiple dates, multiple times. "Turn it off." Bennett stood up, his face red. "Turn it off right now." But I'd locked the controls. The video continued, text messages scrolled across the screen. They're actual messages, screenshots with timestamps. "I can't wait until she's asleep so I can call you." Tonight was amazing. Only 3 more months until the wedding. Then we figure out how to tell her. Marlowe was crying, covering her face. "Please stop, please." The final clip played. Vegas hotel security footage showing them entering the room together. Then my voice played over the speakers. I just wanted everyone to see the truth. Before we went any further, the lights came up. 300 people stared at the head table in complete shock. I stood calmly, my hands steady on the microphone. Bennett reached for me, but Royce held him back. Marlowe was sobbing into her hands. "I want to thank everyone for coming today," I began, my voice clear and strong. "I know this isn't the celebration you expected. To be honest, it's not what I expected either, when I got engaged 6 months ago." My mother stood up in the front row, her face a mask of fury directed at Marlowe and Bennett. "I found out about their affair 3 weeks ago," I continued. "I had a choice. Call off the wedding, or let them stand up here in front of everyone they know and love and expose the truth. I chose honesty." Bennett finally found his voice. "Celine, this is insane. You married me just to humiliate us?" I turned to him, and my smile was ice. "I married you, so everyone would see what kind of man you really are, and what kind of sister I have. You wanted to have your cake and eat it too? Well, here's your wedding cake." I gestured to Vivian, who wheeled out the massive 5-tier cake. On top, instead of a bride and groom figurine, there were 3 figures. A bride, a groom, and another woman in green. The room erupted in whispers and shocked exclamations. I reached under the table and pulled out a manila folder. "These are annulment papers. Our marriage lasted approximately 4 hours. I'm citing fraud. You married me under false pretenses. My lawyer assures me it's an easy case." I dropped the folder in front of Bennett. His hands shook as he opened it. "Everything you see in that video is documented and legally verified," I continued. "I also have hotel receipts, restaurant bills, and witness statements. You used our joint credit card to wine and dine my sister. Thank you for making the paper trail so easy to follow." Marlowe stood up suddenly. "You're insane. You're a psychopath." I turned to her slowly. "I'm a woman who refused to be a victim. There's a difference." My mother's voice cut through the chaos like a knife. "Marlowe, get out of this building, now." Marlowe's face crumpled. "Mom, now!" My mother's voice echoed through the hall. "You are no daughter of mine." Security guards I'd hired appeared at the doors. Marlowe looked around desperately, but no one would meet her eyes. She stumbled toward the exit, still in her maid of honor dress, mascara running down her face. Bennett grabbed my shoulders. "Celine, listen to me. Yes, I made a mistake, but I love you." I was confused. Marlowe pursued me. I pushed him away. "Don't you dare blame her entirely. You're a grown man. You made choices." Royce stepped between us. "Bennett, man, just stop." Sign the papers. No, Bennett shouted. We're married, we can work through this. Celine, please. Think about everything we've built together. I laughed bitterly. Everything we built? You mean the apartment we share? That's in my name? The car you drive? That I helped you buy? The job you got? Because my father made a phone call? Bennett's face went white. He hadn't realized I knew about that last part. My father called in a favor to get you that senior analyst position, I said quietly. You thought you earned it on merit. You didn't. And now my father knows what you did with that opportunity he gave you. On cue, my father stood up from his table. He was a tall man, imposing even at 65. He walked slowly toward Bennett, and I saw fear flash across my ex-fiancé's face. You have until Monday morning to clean out your desk, my father said coldly. Consider yourself terminated. The reception had completely devolved into chaos. Some guests were leaving. Others were clustered in groups, whispering frantically. A few of Bennett's relatives were yelling at me, calling me cruel and vindictive. I didn't care. Josiah appeared at my side. You okay? I'm perfect, I said, and I meant it. For the first time in months, I felt light, free. Bennett's mother approached, her face red with anger and tears. How could you do this to my son? On his wedding day? Ask your son what he did to me for 6 months, I replied calmly. Every day he looked me in the eye and lied. Every night he texted my sister while lying in our bed. Your son is a cheater and a coward. She raised her hand as if to slap me, but my mother intercepted, grabbing her wrist. Touch my daughter, and I will have you arrested. Your son destroyed this family, not Celine. More security guards appeared, gently ushering Bennett's family toward the exits. Bennett stood alone at the head table, the annulment papers scattered in front of him, looking lost and broken. Good. Now he knew how I'd felt. By midnight, the venue was empty except for me, Josiah, my parents, and Vivian's cleanup crew. I sat at the head table, still in my wedding dress, drinking champagne directly from the bottle. My mother sat beside me. She hadn't said much since her confrontation with Marlowe, but now she took my hand. I'm proud of you. I looked at her in surprise. Really? You could have fallen apart. You could have let them make you small. Instead, you stood tall. She squeezed my hand. Your grandmother would have done the same thing. My father stood behind us, his hands on both our shoulders. What do you need from us? Nothing, I said. I handled it. Clearly. He chuckled despite everything. But your mother and I are here. For whatever comes next. What came next was Marlowe's texts, dozens of them, pleading and angry by turns. I blocked her number. Then Bennett's texts, apologizing and threatening in equal measure. I forwarded those to my lawyer and blocked him too. Josiah drove me home, to my new apartment that neither of them knew the address to. I fell asleep in my wedding dress, too exhausted to even take it off. I woke up to my phone exploding with notifications. Someone had posted about the wedding on social media. Not me, but multiple guests. By morning, #WeddingRevenge was trending locally. The video had been shared hundreds of times. People I'd never met were commenting, praising me for my strength, calling Bennett and Marlowe every name imaginable. Some criticized me for public humiliation, but they were drowned out by supporters. I received friend requests from women sharing their own stories of betrayal, messages from strangers saying I'd inspired them to leave their cheating partners. It was overwhelming and surreal. My phone rang. An unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Celine, this is Patricia Colson from Channel 7 News. We'd love to interview you about your wedding. Your story is resonating with so many people. I hung up. Then I blocked that number too. This wasn't about fame or attention. This was about justice, and I'd gotten it. But the calls kept coming, reporters, podcast hosts, even a literary agent asking if I'd consider writing a book. I turned off my phone and sat in silence, processing everything. Was this really over? Or had I just opened a door I couldn't close? 3 days later, Marlo showed up at my apartment. I don't know how she found the address, but there she was, looking terrible. Hair unwashed, face puffy from crying, wearing sweatpants and an old jacket. "Please," she said when I opened the door. "Just 5 minutes." Against my better judgment, I let her in. We sat in my living room, an ocean of silence between us. "I'm sorry," Marlo whispered. "I know that doesn't fix anything, but I'm so sorry. I was jealous of you. I've always been jealous. You were always Mom and Dad's favorite, always perfect, always—" "Stop," I interrupted. "Don't blame this on sibling rivalry. You're 28 years old. You made a choice to sleep with my fiancé. Own it." She nodded, tears streaming down her face. "You're right. I'm not here to make excuses. I just wanted you to know that I hate myself for what I did. I lost my sister, my family, my home. Mum won't return my calls. Dad changed the locks on my apartment, the one he was paying for. I felt nothing. No sympathy, no satisfaction. Just emptiness. What do you want from me, Marlo? Forgiveness. Someday, not now, I know, but someday." I stood up. "Maybe someday, but not today, not this year. Maybe not ever. You need to leave." Bennett's consequences were more severe than Marlo's. Losing his job was just the beginning. The video had been shared so widely that other companies in our city recognized him. No one wanted to hire the guy from the viral wedding disaster. His apartment, the one I had been helping him pay for, went into default. He moved back in with his parents at 32 years old. But the worst part for him was his friends. Royce cut him off completely. The other groomsmen wanted nothing to do with him. His social circle evaporated overnight. I heard all this through Josiah, who heard it from Royce. I didn't take pleasure in it, exactly, but I didn't feel bad either. Actions had consequences. Bennett was learning that lesson the hard way. 2 weeks after the wedding, Bennett sent me a letter. An actual handwritten letter, since I'd blocked him everywhere else. "Celine, I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I destroyed the best thing in my life. I was selfish and stupid and cruel. You deserve so much better. I hope someday you can find happiness again. I'm signing the annulment papers. My lawyer will file them tomorrow. I'm sorry for everything. Bennett." I read it once, then threw it away. Words were just words. He'd proven that over 6 months of lies. 6 weeks after the wedding, I sat in a coffee shop with Josiah, feeling almost normal for the first time. The media attention had finally died down. The social media posts had been buried under newer scandals. Life was slowly returning to a manageable rhythm. "How are you really doing?" Josiah asked, studying my face. "Honestly, I'm okay. Better than okay, actually." I sipped my latte. I thought I'd feel empty or bitter, but mostly I just feel free. No regrets about the whole public confrontation thing. I considered that. Sometimes I wonder if I went too far. But then I remember how they made me feel. Small, stupid, like I didn't matter. They deserve to be exposed. Josiah nodded. "You're stronger than you think." That afternoon, I went back to work. For the first time since the wedding. I was a graphic designer at a marketing firm, and I'd taken 3 weeks of leave to recover from my wedding. My co-workers were awkward at first, tiptoeing around me, but I addressed it head-on. Yes, my wedding became a viral video. Yes, it was intentional. No, I don't want to talk about it anymore. Can we please just focus on work? They respected that. By the end of the week, things felt almost normal again. A month later, I came home to find someone waiting outside my apartment building. At first, I didn't recognize her. Then I realized it was Bennett's mother, Helen. My first instinct was to turn around and leave, but she saw me. Celine, please. Just a moment. I walked closer cautiously. What do you want, Helen? She looked older than I remembered, tired and sad. I wanted to apologize, not for Bennett. He needs to do that himself, though I know you won't listen. I wanted to apologize for how I treated you. At the reception, you were right. My son betrayed you terribly. I wasn't expecting that. Okay, thank you. I also wanted you to know that I raised him better than that. I thought I did anyway. Her voice cracked. I'm so ashamed of what he did. You were always kind to our family. You deserved loyalty. We stood in awkward silence. Then Helen reached into her purse and pulled out an envelope. This is from Bennett's grandmother. She wanted you to have it before she passed last week. My heart clenched. I'd loved Bennett's grandmother. She passed? Helen nodded, tears in her eyes. She said you were the best thing that ever happened to Bennett. She was heartbroken by what he did. I took the envelope with shaking hands. Thank you for bringing this. Helen left, and I went upstairs to read the letter in private. My dear Celine, the letter began in shaky handwriting. If you're reading this, I'm gone. I wanted to write to you before I left this world, because you deserve to know that not everyone in Bennett's family is blind to what he did. You showed remarkable strength at that wedding. Some might call it revenge, but I call it self-respect. You refused to be a doormat. You refused to let them make you small. That takes courage. I'm leaving you something in my will, my grandmother's ring, the sapphire one you always admired when you visited me. It shouldn't go to Bennett, not after what he did. It should go to you, a woman who knows her worth. Don't let this experience make you bitter or closed off. You have so much love to give. When you're ready, you'll find someone worthy of it, someone who will treasure you the way Bennett should have. Be happy, dear girl. That's the best revenge of all. With love, Dorothy, I cried for the first time since the wedding. Not sad tears exactly, but something deeper. Grief for what could have been, gratitude for unexpected kindness, and hope for what might still come. The ring arrived a week later, delivered by Helen. It was beautiful, a deep blue sapphire surrounded by tiny diamonds. I wore it on my right hand, a reminder that I was valuable, with or without someone else's validation. 3 months after the wedding, my annulment was finalized. I was officially unmarried again, like the whole thing had never happened. Legally, anyway. Emotionally, it had changed me forever. I went to dinner with my parents to celebrate. My father raised his glass. To my daughter, who taught us all what backbone looks like. My mother smiled, but there was sadness in her eyes. Have you heard from your sister? I shook my head. No, have you? She sends emails sometimes, apologizing, asking for a chance to talk. My mother sighed. I don't know if I can forgive her. She's my daughter, but what she did... You don't have to decide right now, I said gently. Take your time. I am. That night, lying in bed, I thought about Marlo. Part of me missed my sister. The sister she used to be before jealousy poisoned her. But I couldn't separate the old Marlo from the one who betrayed me. Maybe someday I could. But not yet. I also thought about Bennett and felt... nothing. No anger, no longing, no regret. He was just someone I used to know, a chapter that had closed. I fell asleep peacefully, the sapphire ring on my nightstand catching the moonlight. 6 months after my non-wedding, I was thriving. I'd been promoted at work, moved into a bigger apartment with floor-to-ceiling windows, and started taking pottery classes on weekends, something I'd always wanted to do, but Bennett had said was impractical. Josiah convinced me to try dating again. I was hesitant, but he set up a profile for me on a dating app. Just coffee dates, he insisted. No pressure. Just remember what it's like to meet new people. I went on a few dates. Some were awkward, Some were boring, one was actually fun. I wasn't looking for anything serious, just testing the waters, remembering that I was still young and had my whole life ahead of me. One Saturday morning, I was at the farmer's market buying fresh flowers, when I literally bumped into someone, sending his coffee flying. "I'm so sorry." I grabbed napkins from a nearby stand. "It's okay, really?" He was tall, with kind eyes and laugh lines. I needed a refill anyway. We laughed, and he insisted on buying me a coffee to make up for the one I'd caused him to spill. We ended up talking for 2 hours, sitting on a bench by the water, discovering we both loved hiking and terrible action movies, and had the same favorite obscure band. His name was Marcus. He was a teacher. Recently moved to Seattle from California. He made me laugh, without trying too hard. He didn't ask about my past, just seemed genuinely interested in who I was now. When we finally parted ways, he asked for my number. I gave it to him without hesitation. That evening, as the sun set over Puget Sound, I stood on my apartment balcony wearing Dorothy's sapphire ring and smiled. The past 6 months had been the hardest of my life, but they'd also been the most transformative. I'd learned that I was stronger than I thought, that I deserved honesty and loyalty, that I could survive betrayal and come out better on the other side. Bennett and Marlowe had tried to break me. Instead, they'd freed me. My phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. "Had a great time today. Want to grab dinner sometime this week?" I typed back, "I'd love that." I didn't know where things would go with Marcus, or if they'd go anywhere at all. But for the first time in a long time, I was excited about the future, instead of haunted by the past. Beneath my wedding grin, I'd plotted to shatter their world, but in the end, I'd rebuilt my own. And that was the sweetest revenge of all. I raised my glass of wine to the sunset, to new beginnings, to the woman I'd become. "Here's to me," I whispered, and I meant it.